The US's highest military general in South Korea is pushing to link the military capabilities of the Philippines, Japan and South Korea into a kill web. US Army General Xavier Brunson, who also heads UN Command and Combined Forces Command, told the Japan Times this kill web was needed due to mounting security challenges from China, Russia and North Korea. Here's Brunson testifying before US Congress 2 weeks ago.
If you look at the triangle of mutual defense treaties in and around the Pacific and Japan, Korea, and the Philippines, we're there. And I think that speaks abundantly and makes abundantly clear what it means to us to be allied alongside folk in the region. And we're a buttress, we're a hedge, a true hedge against the coercion that's there, because we're paying into the things that are going on in the region.
What pressure is the authoritarian bloc putting on the one theatre of the East and South China Seas and Taiwan Strait? How would a kill web, which would lay multiple kill chains, work? And is the first island chain moving closer not to an Asian NATO, but to NATO principles? Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Khvat. To discuss this and more, I'm joined by Chen Guo, United Daily News Deputy Editor-in-Chief. Also, we have Tony Hu, former US Department of Defense Senior Director for China, Taiwan and Mongolia, and Michael Chen, Democratic Progressive Party International Affairs Director. A very warm welcome to everyone today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, the US can already operate a kill web with Australia. This is the 55th wing, which in the 2025 Talon Shield component of the exercise Talisman Sabre achieved seamless integration with Australian forces and 2 other US wings in Oklahoma and South Dakota. 200 people were interlinked in the operation. Brunson told Japan Times for the first island chain, the challenge lies in whether we are organised to respond together or scramble to coordinate after a crisis occurs. None of these US allies can afford to exist in isolation. Tony, so you've got the background. Can you tell us how the kill web works and what it enables the US to do?
So kill web is a collective defense concept where you get all the coalition forces capability integrated and linked into a single net-centric system so that we can have a coordinated military response to any type of threat. And the capabilities is a multi-domain. You take advantage of the air, land, sea, space, cyberspace, and also in electromagnetic spectrum to try to dominate the enemy. So in plain language, it's a fully connected defense network that builds synergy so that everybody can have a coordinated response to a threat. And that way, no partner needs to face the threats alone. So kill web is something that actually enhances the collective security.
But there are multiple command and controls sort of hubs. So who ultimately, which country ultimately is in control?
Well, the country who has the predominant information network where people connect to. So what General Brunson mentioned about kill web, he's talking about having Korea certainly connected with Japan and Philippines, and in some ways Taiwan can also tap into it. So it's a connection where if Australia or United Kingdom decides to join in a defensive scenario in Asia Pacific, they can plug right in because United States and those countries are already linked. So the kill web concept is so that coalition forces can just plug it right in. We can share information collection, share information distribution. It's a command control system so that the system knows what capability each partner brings to bear, what capability that needs to go against the threat, and making sure the right forces in the right place at the right time.
Okay. Now, central to Brunson's kill web is his East Up map, which we did a show on last year. Here's a clip. This map of East Asia may look wrong at first glance, but that's because China is on the bottom and Japan and Philippines are on top. As you can see, from Seoul, it's more or less equidistant to Tokyo, Taipei and Beijing. It's to illustrate how a change in perspective transforms, quote, strategic understanding and how we understand the battle space. In his article, he sets out the contributions of each country On April 22nd, Brunson proposed establishing South Korea as a regional sustainment hub. The concept aims to reduce time and cost by conducting maintenance, repair and overhaul in allied countries rather than returning to the United States. So, Tonglan, can you tell us, how significant is a sustainment hub and why should it be South Korea?
So when you look at the map, if you see it in this way, South Korea or Korean Peninsula seem to be at the corner of Northeast Asia. But if you turn it like that, it's called east up, then you'll see that South Korea is actually in the critical center of it. So if you combine all the threats from Russia, from North Korea and China, you will see that it needs to have a coalition of anti-this axis countries together, South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Australia, to counter this kind of aggressions.
Right. And it's interesting, Michael, how should we read this newest development?
Well, I think, as you said, General Brunson, his messaging, trying to frame Korea as not just a front line against the North, but also as a regional hub, an important one in the center of the first island chain, is in line with what Secretary Hegseth has envisioned in terms of the regional strategy. Korea has the scale, it has the largest, most combat-ready military, it has the production capabilities to be able to produce and sustain equipment, and of course, its location, right? At the center of the Indo-Pacific theater, close to China, close to the Taiwan Strait.
Okay. Tony, we discussed about South Korea's role. How about all the rest? What contributions do they make?
Well, certainly, let's talk about Japan. Japan is very long, okay? So we expect them to hold up the northern end of the first island chain. And Japanese self-defense force is actually quite strong, and its capability is enormous. So they're a great partner in holding up that northern part, and it has the sensors that can feed into this kill web on information from that end. So that's very important. Australia, they are the follow-on force. They are the coalition that comes in, and they have acquired a lot of long-range fire, and they're getting new frigates. So they are increasing their capability to come to the assistance of Western Pacific if necessary, especially after they get their AUKUS submarines. So when Australia has conducted its exercise such as Pitch Black, now 17 countries goes there to exercise. They provide a huge exercise ground. The Philippines, of course, the most important part of Philippines is location, where Allied forces can deploy, because you take care of the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. And the Americans have been building up a lot of bases and building up a lot of bunkers to put our war reserve materials in. So that's the biggest contribution Philippines can provide, is provide that access, because they already signed the access agreement with Japan, with Canada. Taiwan obviously complicates PLA's movement, because Taiwan also can detect all the movements. And United States provide that capability that links everybody together, because most of our friends uses U.S. weapon system and command control system, where it's a plug and play.
Okay. Now, former Japan Defense Minister Gen Nakatani first introduced the concept of the One Theater in March 2025, covering the East and South China Seas and the Taiwan Strait. And in the same month, the Philippines' highest general explained the Security Quad or Squad. Watch.
Lately, we have signed, among us chiefs of defense, an agreement among the four nations, namely the United States, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines, and we call it the Security Quad. We would welcome other partners into the Security Quad, namely India and South Korea. And so really, these alliances and partnerships are very valuable when it comes to countering China's expansionism goals.
But the Squad grouping was likely first made official in 2024, when then U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with his Philippine, Japanese and Australian counterparts in Hawaii. Now, there is the concept of a kill web to cover the One Theater or the Squad. Tonglan, so, how close is this getting to an Asian NATO? Because there's one theater, is there one force?
Of course, there's a very strong urgency for all the countries to connect together, especially in NATO. There's interoperability, which is very important. All the equipment will have to act, all the communication will have to function in the same frequency, so on and so forth. But I like to emphasize what all the official statements haven't mentioned about the role of Taiwan. I think Taiwan is very crucial in this whole coalition because when Bronson mentioned about a sensor and shooter, it's under one system. For instance, there's should have a undersea cable used for anti-submarine sonar arrays. But that is not happening no matter what Japan or Philippines is doing without the Taiwan participation. You have to link from Philippines to Taiwan and Taiwan to Okinawa. And that is the key if you want to find out which submarine is passing through the first island chains. So I think, especially when Taiwan is going to have a huge arm purchase, should be buying the equipment can be integrated in the future coalition building.
Okay, Michael, you're in the ruling party. Why is Taiwan not mentioned? Are you pushing for Taiwan to be part of this?
I think Taiwan's often not mentioned officially, but that doesn't mean that under the table there aren't cooperation going on. I think, as General mentioned, and I agree, Taiwan can play a crucial role in this, and Taiwan should. There should be more U.S., Taiwan, Japan trilateral cooperation on security, for example.
So is it once again that we are scared of provoking China when the whole point is to deter China? A strange paradox.
There is a bit of a paradox there, indeed. But I think, what matters is that we do have these critical cooperation programs going on. I think that's the critical part, and more can be done, right? I think this is not about building necessarily an Asian NATO, but it's about bringing countries together. U.S. is trying to get its Asian allies a bit closer with this concept. And certainly increasing system integration and intelligence sharing is a step in that direction. But I don't think we are necessarily close to forming an Asian NATO, nor necessarily is this kill web designed for that.
Tony, does this reflect, the power of China, that all these different militaries must come together in order to deter China?
Actually, I think it's a reflection of a common enemy rather than the size of the enemy. So, and I think Michael mentioned a little bit, there's a difference between formalized agreement and the actual...
Which is the NATO model.
Right, and operational coordination in a kill web. Kill web doesn't need a formalized agreement. It's a system. It's a system, it's a framework. And the latest arms sale that's stuck in late slavery and right now does have systems that allow Taiwan to play a role in that kill web.
That's right.
Okay, so kill web does not require formalized agreement, does not, hopefully doesn't cause the kind of turmoil and blowback from a formalized agreement.
Okay. Now, in terms of the security challenges from North Korea, China and Russia, which is driving the kill web concept for this region, Pyongyang and Moscow are about to open the first direct road bridge between Russia and North Korea across the Tumen River. The 850-meter bridge was agreed during a 2024 visit to North Korea by Russian President Vladimir Putin. During the same visit, Russia and North Korea signed a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty, which includes a mutual defense treaty. The bridge deepens a military-economic corridor that could reshape pressure dynamics in the region. So what does this bridge mean in terms of, perhaps we can call it the containment logic of the first island chain?
Well, this bridge is clearly more than just an infrastructure project, right? It's about building strategic connectivity. And what it does to the first island concept is that it complicates it by creating direct overland passageways where previously there were bottlenecks. So it allows for Russia to enhance its ability to resupply North Korea when necessary. troops in cases of contingencies, sanctions, leakages, etc. Right? So it complicates things, and I think we're likely to see more military activity sustained over longer periods, increased military coordination between the two countries, of course, and overall, it's going to put a greater strain on the U.S. and its allies in terms of its intelligence, its surveillance, reconnaissance capabilities. I think it's still early to assess, but now there's a leakage coming from the back, from the mainland.
Now, Russia sent 3 Navy vessels through the Yonaguni-Irimoto waterway on April 21st, just before China's frigate and destroyer transited the same stretch during Balikatan. So, why and in what ways does Russia threaten Japan?
Russia nowadays is working with China all the time to have its joint military exercise. On the part of Russia, they are showing the support for China in the sense of anti-Japanese imperial aggression or anything like that. But on the other hand, China is also counting on Russia to support it in the Taiwan contingency. But I don't think Russia is really going to go all the way to support China militarily, just like China is reluctant to support Russia fully in terms of invasion of Ukraine war. So I think there's a complicated calculation between them. But I would have to argue on the other side, when General Bronson is mentioning that they are pushing for strategic flexibility with U.S. forces. That means that they're going to allow the U.S. forces to temporarily support other regional contingency. I think the current South Korean government, which is a progressive government, is against this idea. Mm-hmm. They are arguing that if there's a Taiwan contingency, that North Korea might take the opportunity to invade the South Korea. So we need American forces here. Mm. So you can see that within this coalition building and counter coalition, there's a lot of complicated calculation between them.
And yet, Songlun, the Lee Jae-myung, he actually proposed transferring wartime operational control away from
Korean
the US.
Hands.
Into Korean hands.
Right. They want to get hold of the authority. Peacetime already, it's under the Korean control, but also during the wartime, the Korean government is afraid that their own troops might be maneuvered to doing something that is turn them against China PLA army. So that is the concern that the Jae-myung government is hearing. Right.
Okay. And so, Tony, is that going back to the bridge? So it's complicating, it's reshaping, it's adding pressure. Is it because they want to distract or they stretch the US forces, to bring the US forces up north so that they cannot be focused purely on a Taiwan contingency?
Well, I think Russia will play a disruptor role. If there's a Taiwan contingency, it's very doubtful they'll engage. So what obviously they want to help China. Mm-hmm. I suspect they would do something up in northern Japan so they tie down the Japanese forces so they can go south to help Taiwan. And that bridge, I believe, it has more economic usage than military usage, because right now over 90% of the external trade that North Korea has is with China. So that bridge will allow Russia to start doing economic activity with North Korea. So I think it has more economic meaning than military meaning, because to transfer forces and the movement of forces in that region, Russian Navy is a huge navy in the Pacific Fleet over there. However, you mentioned the previous sailing of the Russian ships through Japanese waters, and they're playing that disruptor role right now, and they're helping China.
Okay. Now, last week, Japan announced it will lift its post-World War II ban on lethal weapons exports, allowing Japanese companies to sell arms to 17 countries, including the Philippines, United States, Australia, Singapore, and the UK. Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai explains In an increasingly severe security environment, no single country can now protect its own peace and security alone. And partner countries that support each other in terms of defence equipment are necessary. The origins of the ban, which sought to prevent Japan from becoming entangled in conflict, date back to 1967 with the introduction of the 3 principles on arms exports, with a further tightening in 1976. China's reaction has been fierce. Watch.
中方对此严重关切。当年日本军国主义大肆侵略扩张，对中国及亚洲邻国犯下滔天罪行。正是基于日本的侵略历史，为了防止日本军国主义死灰复燃，《开罗宣言》、《波茨坦公告》和《日本投降书》等一系列具有充分国际法效力的文件明确规定，日本应完全解除武装。 不得维持能使其重新武装的产业。日方近期在军事安全领域一系列危险动向，戳穿了其和平国家和专守防卫的自我标榜。很多专家学者担心，日本重新开启战争机器，对外输出战争。日本加速再军事化是事实和现实，有实际的路线和行动。
So, Michael, can you help us to analyse those statements from the Chinese spokesperson?
Well, it's classic Chinese strategic narrative to flip the script using historical framing, right? They're trying to, by invoking these post-World War II documents, to frame Japan as this sort of destabilizing militaristic force, when it is, of course, China itself that's doing that around the world right now. So it's full of hypocrisy because China, not Japan, is the only major power in the region that's expanding its military forces rapidly, operational activity across the East and South China Sea, threatening militarily its neighbors, threatening to annex a neighboring country, right? So it's China doing all those things, not Japan. It's pure mirror imaging, and you know, it's typical of them to try to paint others as the destabilizing, provocative force, and them as kind of the defensive, reactive, almost victim, when the reality, of course, is the exact opposite.
Why is China, so worried about Japan normalizing? Is it because it believes that Japan will invade China?
Of course not. China knows Japan's not going to attack China, and Taiwan's not going to attack China. United States is not going to attack China. Right now, it's China who has the expansionist idea, and the fact that Japanese capability is increasing, which strengthen that deterrence against China's expansionist idea. So I think that's why they're mad about, because
Japan might actually be able to stop them from taking more territory that China wants.
Precisely, and also they're helping friends to beef up their self-defense capability, which further enhances the deterrence that China is facing. So I think that's the reason they're mad. And like Michael said, they're trying to play the victim. They're not. They're the aggressor.
The lifting of the ban, Tony just mentioned, it actually enables Japan to help other countries strengthen their defense. Is there any other benefits?
I think the reason why, as the host just mentioned, Japan become more and more normalized countries, like lifting the ban on arms export. Recently, Japan set up a national intelligence bureau, which is never had before. And the prime minister is thinking about changing the constitution right now. What I think there's 2 driving force behind it. One is the aggression of China. Japanese are very concerned about this. And the other is the concern that maybe the United States security guarantee can no longer be guaranteed. We are seeing that since last month in March, the Canadian Prime Minister Carney had visited Australia and Japan. He tried to form a middle power coalition, something like that. It's not going to be anytime soon that the U.S. is ever going to leave Asia, but that is something in Japanese mind, that what if the United States ever going to leave Asia, how can we going to defend China in that kind of scenario? So that is another thing that driving Japan to become more and more normalized.
Okay. Final thoughts, Michael?
Well, I think, under Prime Minister Takeshi, the direction is to normalize Japan's defense posture, right? I think we're talking about potential amendment of Article 9 of the Constitution, which would formalize the self-defense force, which would reduce legal ambiguity, for example, for over arms exports, etc. It's about giving Japan and its allies the tools to defend themselves better. It's about increasing interoperability amongst partners. And it's about building Japan's own defense industry as well to help its own combat readiness.
Okay, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you so much, Songlam Guo, Tony Hu, and Michael Chen for joining Taiwan Talks. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today. See you next time.